Well, mine's a little bit different. And mine is just that I had an altercation when I was in line a couple of days ago.
Okay.
And there were some girls in front of me, and they said, one of them stepped on me a little bit. And then she said, sorry. But she immediately said, sorry, you're standing too close to me. And I didn't even care that she had stepped back. It didn't matter, but it totally triggered me because she said it derisively. And then she said to her friends, there were three of them, she said to her other friend, that I think she said something like, that old woman stood on me, or like she said something kind of to me sounded really insulting. And I felt humiliated. So I actually did the work on she insulted me, which was really helpful. But the problem was in the moment, I felt humiliated, and I was trying to talk myself like, this is a thing, and thought I was trying to handle it. And then an opportunity came for me to get back at the girls. They were taking too long in line. And so I just aggressively moved in and said, move forward, get off your phone and move, something like that. And then of course it all turned into a escalation. I mean, I totally calmed down after that, but they really got upset. And I just don't know. So my question, which can wait for another time too, but just like,
Oh no, we're totally
too
doing yours.
long.
We're totally doing yours.
Well, it's just like what I want to know. So like I said, I did the work on she insulted me because that was the first thing that I was believing. But I feel like there was something else that wouldn't let me, like, I don't know if it was like, I need revenge, or they can't get away with it, or something that didn't let me, I couldn't just recognize that I was completely, couldn't handle it. I thought I could handle it. And then when this opportunity came to get back at them, and I just did something that I wished I didn't do. And, so I guess it's like I learned from the experience of feeling insulted, but why did I have to lose it?
Yeah. 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 Well, you know, when you're believing a thought, that's how you react. So you must have still been believing something. And then when you're fully believing something, you can't help but react. And one of the ways the reaction can happen is wanting revenge. So the revenge part is sort of the secondary piece of it, right?
Yes.
It's the telltale sign that something was still, you were still strongly believing something, some kind of, I don't know what it is. So you mentioned the idea that she insulted you. That I think that's pretty darn good, but maybe there's some more pieces in here that are holding up that revenge desire. Or maybe you've worked through that afterwards, and maybe you're still just trying to clean up your own, like, I don't know what it is, guilt or something about
Well,
the.
I guess it's I don't know if I'm looking for like advice, or obviously we're doing the work, but I guess what I'm not clear on is, how do I stop this from happening? Because not everybody gets mad. Like, we all get triggered all the time. Not everybody gets mad. I got mad. I didn't punch anybody, and it all ended well, but I'm like, okay, I worked on it. I don't harbor anger toward the girls anymore. I don't want to go and find them. Like afterwards, I was like, oh, I hope I see them on the street. I feel like I've cleared it out. But what I'm scared of now is just like, why do I act like this? Like, how can I stop it? And that's why I'm like, do you hear another belief?
I have a thought that in my case, I would probably I lowered myself to their level.
So yeah, like there may be some underlying beliefs or some more beliefs that you can question about this, but what I'm kind of hearing is that you're not harboring now any real, like, you work through it. You're not
Yeah.
harboring that anger now or that resentment now. Um, so the fear is like, how do I stop this from happening in the
Yes.
future? And the answer, in my experience, is very simple. It's by, you've already done that. By doing your work on she insulted you and seeing a little bit through that, seeing a little more clarity around that. I don't know what you discovered in that, but my guess is there would be a little more openness or understanding or patience towards her in that specific situation. And if you can see it in that specific situation, that carries forward to other situations. And that's the way it tends to work for me is I'll do the work always post-mortem, right? I do the work on something after the fact. I can't change that situation, but having done the work on that situation, I start getting insights on how I can see that type of situation, and that type of situation may recur. And so when it does, what happens when I've done my work, like on an emotional level, in a really meditative way, something changed in the way I see that person, something opened on the heart level for me. And I may never think of that work again, but something's changed in me after having done the work. And so when I'm presented with a similar situation, then that little something that changed in me is now present in that situation too. And the chances are I have a much higher chance of actually seeing it the way I saw it in my inquiry, in my afterward, in my work, in my post-mortem. There's a much greater chance of that actually being present when I'm with a similar situation. So this work seems like I'm doing it after the fact, but it's actually preventive work. We're preventing a similar kind of reaction in the future because what causes the reaction? I only see one option. Like, I'm a victim, that's a perpetrator. I need to put that person down and I need to get them out of my way, or I need to revenge. I need to get even. Like, I'm only seeing it through that narrow lens of I'm a victim, that person is doing this to me, and I'm not just going to sit around and let this happen, So it's like all the energy is focused in within that little narrow range, and it just comes strong in that direction, and I don't see any other options. When I do the work, I start looking outside of that narrow range, and I start imagining what could have been going on for them. I start imagining, I start seeing other ways that I could still stand up for myself without being, angry. I see a lot of different options on how I could be in that situation. So that exercise, when having done that, it changes something in me. And when I come across a similar situation, there's a higher chance that I'm going to see some of those other options and choose one of those. Now, there's also still a chance that I won't see those options, in which case I will be on automatic pilot and I will do exactly what I did last time. I will just become angry and revengeful and all of that. But chances are, having done that work previously, even if I get down that track a little ways, or even if I actually go full bore and do it, I'm going to become aware of it at some point. And it probably is going to be sooner rather than later. It might be I explode and then I'm like, oh, I remember there were other ways of seeing this. And then, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, it can just change quickly. Or I'm about to explode and then I remember, oh, right, this was what could have been going on for that person. I remember from last time somehow, and it sort of dissolves right in front of your face. Or what happens is you just keep catching it earlier and earlier. And if you get presented with enough of these, and even without doing the work again, you may find yourself catching it so early that it just doesn't even get you. Like, oh, here comes the insult. And I'm just sort of like, ducking, and it goes over my shoulder and I'm moving on to, I think, oh, no problem. Don't worry about it. But regardless, even if I do get triggered, even if I don't catch it, I can work that situation the same way I work this situation. I can gain more insights from that one that may have been like, the situation will be slightly different, and I may gain slightly different takeaways from that. And that's going to give me even more strength and more option for the next future one. So it's sort of like the idea of continuing to happen is a losing proposition, because it's going to be, the chances are getting less and less and less and less as long as I keep each time I do the work, each time I question my thoughts and see new perspectives, that's going to inform the next one. I may repeat that, and I may repeat that, I may repeat that, but eventually I start seeing options right in the moment. And it's not an intellectual thing. It's like an experiential thing. Oh, got it. That's the kind of person that has had a bad day. Okay. Or that's a person that's got a real small, you know, personal space or big personal space boundary, and
Right.
got it. Okay. You know, like however that is, the awareness starts being there. But that's how it works in real life. I always say the work is like the chalk talk in the locker room, where you're like, okay, you go here and pass the ball here, and we'll make this play on the field. But that's just the theory. And then when you go out onto the field, you have to do it. You do it wrong a few times. And then you have to do it first. It's like easy to do in some situations, but others are more challenging. And then over time, you start getting good at it. You can do that play no matter even with the hardest competitors coming at you, and you're totally fine with it. So it's a practice. It's a process of practicing, and you don't even have to plan for it, but just do the work, then go expose yourself to a similar situation, do the work again if necessary, expose again, and over time, you will become strong at that sidestepping what would have been an inevitable blow up.
I'm just seeing this sort of theme of a belief like people don't respect me. And then I'm seeing, as you're talking, past situations, one in particular, but so it's almost like, oh, these girls are another people insulting me, not respecting me. Like,
Yeah.
so I cleared that one with them. Like, I really can picture them, and I don't feel anything anymore. I don't feel angry. I get it. And, but it's like, oh, okay, I see those others. So could be that if questioning more of that idea so that I don't get upset if someone cuts in, or I don't have to react if someone cuts in front of me in line in the same way, because
Yeah.
there's still this kind of little part of me that's like, oh, that's a sign of disrespect. People don't
Exactly.
respect me.
Like there's a larger belief that people don't respect me. Like there's something about, and more generally speaking, that they don't respect me. And this was an isolated case of it. But as soon as you saw it, you tied it into that bigger story. And it's like, now this is not just a small stakes little issue between two people. This is everybody against me. Like, and I've got a history, and like there's the emotion just goes through the roof with that. So this is where sometimes it can be good to question the larger belief, even though I love to keep specific. When a larger belief comes out of a specific situation, it actually can sometimes be really, really interesting to question. In fact, we could do a little bit of that right now if you want to.
If that's okay with everyone else, I'm good.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. So the situation is when that person says, sorry, but then quickly follows it with, you're standing too close, you're standing too close to me. And then follows that with saying that old woman stood on me or something like that, right? So that's the kind of trigger, double trigger there. So your mind was using that as proof of a bigger theory that people don't respect you, right? Mm-hmm. Is that true? People don't respect you.
I'll go with the yes, because my mind's like, well, strangers don't. Like, so there's still a little yes of yes.
Okay. So can you absolutely know it's true? People don't respect you.
No.
And how do you react? What happens in this situation with that woman when she says you're standing too close to me and talks about you as an old woman standing on you? Like, what happens to you when you hear that and you believe this bigger idea that people don't respect you?
Yeah, it feels so embarrassing, like the whole lineup, the whole restaurant, everybody heard me get talked to like that. And it's yeah, it feels small. Like I feel very small, and I feel I think I felt it in my stomach and my heart. And I have the like past images like this. I have past images where I felt like someone judged me as lesser, and how painful those were. And I had no recourse also. It's so like it's memories of is a past of being spoken down to and a past of never being able to bring myself back. And here it is again where they're not gonna, I can't do anything in the future that's gonna make them respect me. Like they win. And so it's this feeling of not being, not only do they not respect me, but I can never get it either. So it's like becomes, that's the reason for their behavior, is a lack of respect towards me, is me seeing me as not worth it, not relevant, not important. And then from that weakened position, it's like there's no way for me to crawl out of that hole.
Yeah.
They never will. So I'm just stuck in this hole, and they get to be in their superior world.
Yeah.
It's sort of how it feels, like what it looks like. Yeah. And it's just so embarrassing, and I feel so small and angry, like very angry at that frustration of being stuck like that. And then it only gets worse, because if I ever do say anything it's like I'm so angry, but if I ever do release anger, I just like look even worse. It's like just confirms how low I am.
So you
So
really
there's only one way to go. And
yeah. Once that starts, it's like there's no win. If you move, you're in trouble. If you don't move, you're just as much in trouble. Yeah. 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 So who would you be when the same woman says, sorry, but you're standing too close to me. It's like your fault. And then starts talking about you. Oh yeah, she stood on me. Who would you be when that happens? And you don't have that, if you didn't have that overarching idea that people don't respect you, who would you be in that same situation?
yeah, I would be like, oh, it's just like it is a personal, like it's just an interaction with these people. That's it. I don't go into the business of everybody behind me in line or anybody else in the restaurant. It's just like, and I don't even have to say anything because she's taking care of it. I'm not involved. I can just stand there, and I don't even have to apologize, because it's not my thing. Like, because part of my instinct with the thought is like, oh, I guess I should say I was too close to her, and I guess I was paying attention. Like I start blaming myself for being too close to her, but without the thought, it's just like, oh, that just happened. She said that to me, and now she's over there, and nobody else is involved. There's no other. My ego is not at risk. There's nobody else who cares, and they don't even care either. They're back doing their thing. So I just feel very much like, oh, okay, that just happened. Like, that's it. It's very easy without that belief. It's not, nothing's at stake, nothing doesn't matter. It's just, oh, I was standing too close to her. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's a crowded line, and that's like her personal space, and and I hear the sorry, like, followed it up right away with the critique, but she started with sorry, so she obviously, so I didn't even notice that she stepped on me, but so it's like I hear that, and which makes me hear also, oh, it's embarrassing if you think you did something and you don't want to think it's your fault. You say,
Yeah.
oh,
No.
so
Yeah.
yeah, without believing people don't respect me, or that this is, it's just easy. It's just very small interaction, very tight. Like, it's over, and I'm completely fine standing in line. I'm totally fine. I'm fine to give her more space. It's no
Yeah.
problem.
This is how, you hear of petty arguments between like partners or relationships or at work or all these different places, little petty things. It's like what makes them so like emotional and yeah, just big is the connection between a little petty thing and a big belief like this. People don't respect me, or this person doesn't respect me, or some bigger thing like that. And so you've just shown without that, it just scales right down to, oh, person stepped on my toe and said sorry and then kind of took it away, but they did what they did. Like it's like not neither here nor there. But as long as it's connected to people don't respect me, and and I've experienced this so many times in my life, and all of that, and the people behind me, then this is, I have to fight. I have to stand up, because this is, yeah, huge. So this is the power of a thought like this, how it brings something huge into something small,
Mm-hmm.
which is why the reaction comes out huge. No surprise.
Yeah.
So how would you turn the thought around? People don't respect me?
I don't respect people. And that's, it is like, I want me first, my feelings first. Like I saw with this when I worked on this, it's like I went into the store, oh, it's a big lineup of people, big line, I had my phone, this is boring. So it's like, I wish they'll get out of the way, it'll be my turn. So I don't respect people. It's not like I come in, with no attachment to anything, and would go, oh, wow, look at all the people, and I'm so excited to be in this restaurant, and all the French fries are going to be yummy. Like, I don't respect people. I'm just not relevant. Only how long I'm going to wait in line is relevant.
Yeah. So that's I love that you're honest to see that and to find that, because it's what partly contributes to that feeling, that explosiveness, right? There's already a stress building, like, I don't really want to be here, or these people are like, how long are they going to hold me up? And there's
Yes.
a lack of respect, if you will, towards the people on some level. And then it doesn't take much. If there's a powder keg, one spark is all it takes. And
Yeah.
it can blow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So another turnaround, people don't respect me.
I don't respect me. Well, I mean, I really go first to it being about me being small. Like, I never think someone would react to me for any other reason that they think I'm irrelevant.
Yeah.
So I don't really ever manufacture any other reasons why people would go first or say something to me. So I don't respect me in the explanations I give for when my feelings are hurt. It's always doubled down by my interpretation of what it means. And also that I'm in the wrong. Also, like I was like, oh, I guess I shouldn't have been looking at my phone. Like I was so mad at myself for standing too close to her. And like my space didn't matter. Her space mattered. Mine didn't matter.
Yeah.
And so like I deserve, someone to be edgy with me.
So that makes it like a double pushback. Like she pushed you back a bit, then you pushed yourself back further. Like I shouldn't have, just like take it and then are harder on yourself. And so if I do that to myself, like someone's doing it to me and then I'm doing it to myself, there's a certain point where it's getting too compressed and I'm gonna explode. So this also contributes to that. Like if I'm not respecting myself, then there's this part of me that's finally gonna just rise up. Like it's just gonna blow. And it tells you like, how do I stop this from happening? Right. That's sort of where we started. It tells you that if there are ways to respect yourself, even when somebody else doesn't respect you, that's gold. You can find that in some way. Like in fact, let's do that for a second. How are you still respectable even though she clearly couldn't see it or didn't appreciate what you did and even was derisive toward you?
Well, just I guess the innocence of my mistake. Like I definitely wouldn't have I wasn't trying to get in her space.
Exactly.
And if she had said, if I hadn't felt attacked, I would have been like, oh, or if I'd noticed, I would have stepped back or given her more space or.
Yeah. So that's giving yourself, like cutting yourself some slack, right? You weren't paying attention and it was crowded and you kind of ended up, you were looking at your phone and innocently didn't leave her enough space. So yeah. But if you can see that, like that innocence, even though owning that it was you that did it, right? But at the same time, see your innocence about it at the same time, then there can be a respect for yourself, even if she can't respect. And if it's, at least theoretically, if you're capable of respecting yourself, even when she's not, there's a freedom there. And it becomes like, just not as big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even like just sort of like I just assumed that I was too close to her also. I don't even know that I really was.
Right.
My husband was talking about, people's definitions of personal space have changed in the past few years. Mine's a different generation, maybe. So that's not to say, no, I wasn't too close, but more just for me to see, how big was my mistake even?
Exactly.
The one that I definitely 100% own is that I wasn't paying attention. That is for sure. I wasn't paying attention. But I can even look at, did I really commit that crime of standing too close? Because that to me is embarrassing if I was like standing on top of somebody. But I could just even look, if I'm respecting me, one situation she said, okay, nothing for me to do. Now, before I assume, oh, Sarah shouldn't have gone so close to that person, I could just look around even at the space between us and notice if really I did even do that thing, or if it
Right.
was my only thing was just that I wasn't really paying attention to the dynamics of the people, around me or whatever.
Yeah. That's you respecting yourself because you're not just assuming just because somebody blames you that you're at fault. You may be at fault. You're open to it, but you're being objective about it and just being like, okay, well, yeah, I was at fault in this regard, but not in this regard. And that's respect, as opposed to just immediately throwing yourself under the bus which is not respecting, and then, like we were saying, the injustice of that starts to make you want to explode.
Yeah.
Okay, and then another turnaround, people don't respect me.
People do respect me. I mean, like the first thing is just that some people respect me. And I don't know what strangers think of me. So I'm kind of like, it's sort of, I find often I assume the worst, and then when I get to know people, I see something else. So it's kind of like people do respect me. I don't know what they think of me. I'm just making it up.
A good example.
And I mean, when I noticed, like, those girls said to me after I told them, they said, "You totally disrespected us." And then I said, "I was just humiliated. Like, I'm just embarrassed." But they thought I disrespected them. Like, I thought I was better. And I was actually feeling down here, trying to get up to their level.
Yeah.
So people do respect me. It could be when someone's rude to me that they're being like me, feeling to put down and trying to get up. And so they're trying to take me down when they should do it. But I certainly, actually, people do respect me. I mean, I've never insulted anyone who I felt higher, I felt better than. I've only ever insulted people when I feel like some kind of threat.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, people may respect you more than you give them credit for. And it's just hard to know without when you're filtering it through this idea that people don't respect you. You'll see the worst every time, and it's nice to just experiment with being as objective as you can be about that, or just coming to the conclusion that I don't know, instead of going to the conclusion that they don't respect me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like I started this with this other incident in mind of with my wedding dress where I had an argument with the dressmaker. And now as we're talking, it's like, oh yeah, I really had the story for why that happened. And
Yeah.
now as we're talking, it's like, oh, actually, I don't know. There could be a million reasons why it ended up the way it did. And well, it might not have been about respect or not, but I really had a very, very specific story of what happened and what actually happened versus what it meant and where it came from is that part is all made up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So these stories give us the idea that we're not being respected,
Yes.
and in the reality, it may not be anything of the sort. But we base our actions on our stories, and that's why it's so good to question these stories and see if indeed that's what's going on, or if something else might be as possible. And if it is, that softens everything, because okay, they may not have been trying to disrespect me, and yeah, that changes the whole thing. It's hard to get angry with somebody when you don't see them as disrespecting you.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. It's
Cool.
much easier when I don't know what caused their behavior and I don't have to pick the unkindest to me
Right.
interpretation.
Right. Yeah, that's also respectful to yourself because it doesn't draw you into that whole argument. And it's also, yeah. So all of these turnarounds help to support you to experience that situation in an easier way, in a more balanced way, maybe a more objective way, and less reactive way, quite possibly. So it's the beliefs that cause the reactions. And so if you want the reactions to stop, question the beliefs. And as you do that, then you don't have much of a chance. You can't go to war if you don't label your enemy the enemy. We always label our enemies some kind of enemy, or target or whatever. We have to dehumanize them somehow and disrespect them, then we can just kill them. But if the little bit of questioning happens and that doesn't get, we don't swallow that, we don't believe that, then we just wouldn't even think killing somebody. We have demonized. These thoughts demonize the other, and then when we undemonize them, when in this kind of work, we just start to see people, and we're one of those people. Anyway, thank you for your work. Really, I love the realness of that kind of situation, and how relatable it is, and the reactions are so relatable. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you. And it's just wild. That wedding dress thing has been sticking with me forever. Every so often, my mind, and I mean, I'll still work on it, but I feel already like completely different about that just from working on that. It's like, oh my gosh, I was so fixed in that story.
That's the coolest thing about doing this work, that you work one thing and something else falls apart. Like they're all kind of connected in a way, and it seems like it's going to be infinite. I have to question every stressful thought, but it's not
Right.
true. A lot of them fall away together in clumps, and yeah. Once you start seeing the pattern, I'm like, oh, I could have been doing that there too.
Right.
Yeah.